The Galaxy S20 has been out for a couple of weeks now, and I've been using it as my daily driver for the last couple of those weeks, so now it's time to do the full review on the Galaxy S20 Plus. Samsung rarely gets a phone wrong if you can forget about that exploding Note 7 from a couple of years ago, but I think with the S20, Samsung have got it bang on. The phone starts at $999 for the S20 Plus and $899 for the regular S20, and I think if they just knocked £100 off both of those prices, then this phone would be right up there. The design on this phone isn't too different to last year's flagships from Samsung, and they've stuck with the same design for the last couple of years, but that's not a bad thing. If you compare this to an iPhone or one of the Pixels, then this is probably one of my favourite designs that you can get on a smartphone. It's almost completely bezel-less. The other stuff in terms of design, if you flip the phone round, then you can have a look at that camera chunk, and trust me, it is a bit of a chunk. The screen though has that hole punch display, and I'm a massive fan of a hole punch display. All these notches and everything like that and teardrops they should get rid of and go with hole punch, because until we can get the behind the front facing glass selfie camera, then it's just the best looking way to go. And as we're talking about cameras, let's have a look at the cameras that are on the S20. So, you get a 12 megapixel main lens, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and then when you get to that zoom lens, we are talking 64 megapixels. The 64 megapixels on that telephoto lens help massively. If you want to zoom in, I'd say 2, 3, even 4 times, and the pictures look as clear as they would if you were taking them with the main lens. But when you start to go over that 4 times zoom, and you go to 10 or 20 or even the 30 times zoom, it's actually better if you take it at 4 times zoom and then just zoom in on the photo yourself and screenshot that or crop it. I think away from that telephoto lens, the main camera on a Samsung phone is always okay. It's never up there with the Pixels. It's certainly not up there with the iPhone at the moment either. Everything when taking a photo on this is just a little bit oversaturated, and it's not really what I like. But if you're uploading just to Instagram or Twitter, then there isn't really anything to complain about. There are some good options on video this year on the S20 and S20 Plus. You can go all the way up to filming in 8K. I've done a little bit of 8K filming with it, but personally I wouldn't recommend doing any sort of 8K filming with this just yet. It crops in massively on any sort of video. There's no sort of stabilization on it. It takes up a huge amount of space for an 8K bit of footage. So my thinking is, if you want to try and get some really good footage, then go with the 4K video option on this. Both Galaxies this year come with 5G enabled already, which is absolutely brilliant, but that should not be a reason that you should upgrade to this phone. It's nice now that phones are putting 5G in there and they're kind of future-proofing for the next couple of years, but 5G plans are still really expensive, the 5G coverage isn't great, and it's only available in like main cities. It's nice that phones are ready for this full 5G network, but the full 5G network isn't ready for us yet. 120 Hz is the new black. But what I'm trying to say is 120 Hz is the way forward in life. It's the best thing about this phone, hands down. Samsung being Samsung don't enable this by default as soon as you turn the phone on, of course. But once you turn that on, it is fantastic. Once you use 120 Hz for the first time, every other phone that's out there just seems like one of those Nokia 3310s. The reason that Samsung don't enable this by default is that when using 120 Hz, the battery life is a little bit worse than it is from using the default 90 Hz. But I've been using it for the last couple of weeks, and battery life is still fine. You can still get to the end of the day with just enough battery life left, and it's actually worse the knockdown in battery life for that 120 Hz screen. A few things that I'm not on board with this phone is that under the screen fingerprint sensor. I will never be on board with that. One UI is better this year, but it's still not quite there. It still feels a little bit jangly. And of course, Bixby. No one will ever be on board with Bixby. I think that if I had an S10 and I was looking to upgrade to the S20, after using it, I wouldn't do it yet. 120 Hz, yeah, is brilliant, but it doesn't change how you use the phone. 5G should not be a reason to upgrade to this yet, because we're not ready for 5G. That might be the case in a couple of years, but not yet. And the cameras, they're not a huge amount better than they were from the S10s last year. Overall, I think the S20 is a great phone if you're going to buy a new phone this year, but if you're looking to upgrade from an older Samsung, maybe hold off for a little bit yet. But having said that, good job, Samsung. Until next time, see you later.